All right, this week, the SEMICON Southeast Asia 2024 conference, the region's premier event for the global electronics manufacturing and supply chain industry, is set to take center stage. The conference begins on Tuesday, May 28, that will be held at Malaysia International Trade and Exhibition Centre, MITEC, that will be launched by the Minister of Trade, Investment and Industry MITI, Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz. The event will be featuring discussion on key pivotal roles, components of semiconductor industry growth. And also join me my conversation with one of the leading figure in the electronics industry, Ajit Manocha, the Chief Executive Officer, CEO and the President of SEMI, on sharing his perspective on the current trend, emerging trend and the future outlook for this sector. Let's take a look. I want to say thank you very much, Ajit Manocha, the President and Chief Executive Officer, CEO of SEMI, for joining me for this session, this opportunity. Firstly, if you want to talk about the electronics manufacturing and even the supply chain industry, maybe you can share with us firstly the current industry landscape and how are the significant trends shaping the industry? What are the primary growth of factors that we can see that are significant within the development within the global electronics industry?
Well, thank you for having me. I think this is a question which I've been asked many times about the trends in this industry. I think we are going through very unprecedented times in this industry. Unprecedented in terms of the opportunities. This industry started roughly 70 years ago. In 70 years, we reached IC revenue of 580 billions or so in 2022. With some softening in 23, we are on the rise again. But in next 7 to 8 years, it's going to double to 1 trillion. So the trends are tremendous. And what is driving these trends? Last decade was the decade of IoT. IoT really helped grow the industry dramatically in the last decade. This decade is the decade of AI. AI is really making a big impact. And what we have seen so far is just the tip of the iceberg. I think yet more growth has to come because of AI. And I'm sure that these days we hear AI from everywhere. And if this is not enough, the next decade is the decade of quantum computing. So I think AI era will take it to 1 trillion by 2030, 31, 32. It's not going to be 10 years more. It will be 6, 7 to 8 years, 9 years. It will happen. And when the quantum era starts in the next decade, it's going to probably, industry is going to grow to maybe 5 trillion. Now, I think with the IoT and AI, the growth is, as I mentioned before, is tremendous because it's leading to multiple disruptions. Many innovative ideas are coming up, and growth is guaranteed in my view. So, I mean, there's no limit. Sky is the limit, basically.
True.
So I think we are in a very promising situation with respect to the opportunities, but it's not going to be easy to capture the growth because there are a lot of headwinds, and maybe I'll talk about that if there's a question like that.
Right, the prospect of this industry we are seeing, as you mentioned, it's going to be at a large scale, and definitely there are many more for us to do in efforts, and initiatives are all welcome all over the world. But talking about this industry in the scale of global, how about the geopolitical tension right now with the current US-China trade war? How is this affecting the global electronics industry as a whole?
Well, this is well understood. The US-China relationships have been under a lot of tension for the last 7-8 years. And I don't see any trend of that changing in the short period of time. Now, time will tell with the elections end of this year in US whether there will be change of administration or not. I don't know. I'm not going to predict the elections of US, but elections can change some of the trajectory, but there's no promise. But if you look at the history, both the previous two presidents, they both have been very hawkish on China. So the chances of something changing are very small. But the tension is rising, and also it is creating a lot of challenges for the companies because of the export control restrictions. So there is a lot of tension going on between US and its allies, and US, China, and the other allies and China. So it's becoming more and more complex. Has it impacted the industry a lot? I would say not a lot yet, but it can become worse. The good news is that China is not retaliating yet. If China starts retaliating, then problem can become more serious. So in a way, things are developing, but we have to watch and see. So go ahead.
And how is the shortage, global semiconductor facing because of shortage impacting the various sector within the global electronics industry? Well,
fortunately, I don't think we have seen that shortages yet.
Okay.
Although we had a big problem during pandemic when there was a massive chip shortages, and I think the reason we did not see any shortages yet because of the economic downturn in later part of 22 and 23. I don't think the supply chain problems have been resolved yet. I still think that as the growth starts, we may see the shortages again, because there is an imbalance of production on different nodes of semiconductor industry. So that could become a challenge as we start growing again. But in the meantime, many of the companies are really revisiting the supply chain strategy. And SEMI is actually playing a big role in redesigning the blueprint for supply chain. In my opinion, until the 2017, when the tariff started by US, the supply chain was actually working very, very well. The philosophy of supply chain was just in time. And now with the pandemic, with the geopolitical issues, and also due to climate issues, there have been so many disruptions. In my opinion, the just-in-time philosophy doesn't work anymore. Now we are looking at more like just-in-case philosophy, which means that it may be a little bit more cost-centric, but cost is probably affordable if we have a resiliency in the supply chain. So the problem is that we need to have more redundancies in our supply chain. The way I see it, we are dependent on 5 or 6 hubs in the world which have the semiconductor concentration. If any of the hub gets impacted because of geopolitical issues or the wars in the Middle East or in the Russia-Ukraine or any other tensions, it creates a supply chain disruptions. So given that our industry is going to double in size in next 7 years, what I would love to see that there are more hubs created in the world which will create some redundancies so that we don't run into the similar problem of chip shortages and supply chain disruptions as it happened during pandemic. So I think there's a big challenge and big opportunities also to grow this industry, but don't only grow the same hubs, but rather create new hubs.
Correct, like multiple hubs where you can offer this advanced technological advancements. And if you want to create more hubs, then definitely it's important and crucial for us to identify what are the emerging technologies and how will it impact on the industry. For example, we want to talk about the emerging technologies like AI, 5G, like you said, the computing, and how are these emerging technologies will poise the most significant impact on the industry?
You know, a lot of people think that we just need to focus on the most advanced technologies, which is like 5 nanometers or 3 nanometers, 2 nanometers. Yes, that's important because there's a lot of growth in the data centers because of the autonomous vehicles, and there's a lot of data being generated. And also because of social media, there's a lot of communication going on, and hence the data centers load is increasing. Data centers use a lot of advanced technologies, and of course, but the growth is in across the board. There's a growth on even the legacy technologies as much as in the advanced technologies. If you really look at a smartphone, 20% of the chips are the advanced technologies, 80% are the legacies and old technologies. So you need each one of them.
Correct.
I mean, any missing of any chip of any node will create a disruption. So there's a growth across the board. So I think that's the good news about this industry, that virtually every segment is growing. I will say almost equally. Yes, the demand for the most advanced technology is very important for further advancement of the autonomous vehicles and quantum computing and AI. So yes, so there's a growth across the board, but there's definitely big demand for the advanced technologies as well.
And what are the potential risks and ethical consideration associated with the adoption of new technologies?
Well, especially with AI, I'm sure you know it better that a lot of concerns about the bad sides of how AIs can be abused or not used properly. So there will be a lot of regulations being explored by various countries, and I'm sure that the regulators have to do their job, and at the same time, we as technologists, we as the industry, are going to be very responsible and accountable to make sure that we only develop the good applications of AI, which will help us with the most advancement of the humanities, help the humanity and society, and create the important products and grow 5G, 6G, 7G, and develop the quantum computing and the other applications with AI. So especially with the Gen AI, there's so many new things are happening, you know. So I think there are a lot of opportunities, and we as industry folks will be only focusing on the good parts of the applications.
And we know with the event from 28 May till 30 May at Malaysian Trade and Exhibition Centre, MITEC, will be held for 3 days. And you want to understand the significance of this event, definitely. Why is it Southeast Asia? It is called the SEMICON Southeast Asia 2024 conference, and particularly in Malaysia, and considered a critical hub in global electronics as a major. How?
Well, you know, Southeast Asia has been very prominent, playing a prominent role in this industry, and especially Malaysia has been, in addition to Singapore, has been very active in growing this region of all aspects of semiconductor industry, not just the back end, the front end, the design houses, and so on. And I'm very, very impressed with the Malaysian government's policies and the support for the industry. So I think this administration has also come up with a lot of incentives, and also they have formed this task force which is to further grow the innovation in Malaysia. And I think this goes back to my earlier comment about we need to develop more hubs, and if this hub becomes a very strong hub, this will actually help us to minimize the disruptions and supply chain problems that we had in the past.
And what are comparative advantages for that Southeast Asia offer to other regions for electronic manufacture and supply chain industry?
Well, I think this is very clear that the Southeast Asia, we have a established base, good set of skill sets here, and commitment of the government, especially in Malaysia, to innovation and the growth in the other sectors of the industry, especially in the design side. So which brings the whole ecosystem together. So I think this is really also our SEMICON event, which is happening starting tomorrow for next 3 days. We bring the entire ecosystem into the SEMICON event, and this promotes the more partnerships and collaboration between the global industry and the local infrastructure and ecosystem in the Southeast Asia region, and especially in Malaysia. And Southeast Asia region, I mean, we know that Singapore has been very active for many years, and there is a lot of growth happening in Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia. But of course, while we're sitting in Kuala Lumpur, I can speak highly of Malaysia, because I've been here virtually every year for this SEMICON Southeast Asia. Every time I come here, I see a lot more momentum here and a lot more energy at the conference. And I'm pretty sure that tomorrow's event will be even bigger than the last year one.
True, we hope for the best and gets bigger and bigger at a larger scale. And we want to make sure that the whole ecosystem is boosted and fulfilled with the right trade policies and economic context. For example, like how do trade policies and economic partnership within the Southeast Asia can influence the global industry, global manufacturing and electronics markets?
I think that's a very important question that you're asking. I mean, as I mentioned before, this industry is growing exponentially. Okay. To be honest with you, I can use the word exponential, is probably appropriate. And there are CHIPS Acts in US, CHIPS Act in Europe, CHIPS Act in South Korea, CHIPS Act in Japan, and similarly there are several announcements like this in Southeast Asia. I think in order for a level playing field for Southeast Asia to grow with the rest of the world, it is important that Southeast Asia continues to promote the incentives plan, what Malaysia has already done. And also it's a testament to the leadership of Malaysia that many companies, global companies, are flocking to Malaysia and growing their operation. I'm very pleasantly surprised with the number of new announcements that I've heard in last 12 months, that how many companies are growing, both front end, back end, design houses and innovation houses. So I think this is really on the right track, but more the merrier. So, I mean, I would love to see that the not other parts of the Southeast Asia only, but Malaysia especially continues to grow its incentive plans and so on year after year to invite more and more companies to grow their operation here in Malaysia.
And we hope for the best, definitely. And we're going to zoom a little bit closer to the Malaysia's market. So how do you see technology as well, that what are the primary growth for the electronics market within Malaysia currently and moving forward, maybe in a few other decades?
Well, again, there's no really one area you can focus on. I think the growth is in all the areas I mentioned before. I would say that those companies who are already present here, they really have to grow their operation and add new technologies, new innovation focus in this region, and it goes back to creating some redundancies. So the companies who have operations in other parts of the world, and you need to have a backup operation also. So it's a backup as well as the new ideas and new innovative paths that you can choose, depends upon the companies. But there's no limit. You can grow the most advanced technologies or the legacy technologies, but even on the design side, you can keep going, and there are so many new designs have to come, as the new disruptions are going to require a lot more products, especially with AI enabled, a lot more new design chips will be designed. So I think I don't think I want to point to one place, but most of the focus will be on the data centers because they'll need a lot more chips. Also in automotive sector, big focus on that because going to electric vehicles and with EV, there's going to be a lot more growth in this area also. And the 6G and 7G are around the block. There's going to be a lot more focus on this on the communication side with 6G and 7G. And next decade will be the quantum decade. Now, one other area I would specifically highlight, which is very important, is the development of materials which will create the low energy, low heat dissipation kind of materials for the chips for AI, because AI chips are generally the energy guzzlers. So how do you bring the energy consumption down? So that means we need more development on the new materials. So one message I would love to give to the Malaysian government and the Southeast Asian government is to really focus on the materials development for low energy, low heat dissipation. Now this is also important from the climate point of view. If you really look at the net zero goals, I am very disappointed that the net zero goals are still spanning over 40 years, from country to country. Now again, this is not an easy problem to solve. If it is easy, everybody will be willing to solve in next 10, 15, 20 years. Nobody will have a 40-year span, which is beyond my lifetime for sure and many other CEOs' lifetime. So I think SEMI has started a very active program on semiconductor climate consortia and formed a semiconductor climate consortia, and also formed energy collaborative where we're focused on the alternate energy sources. But in addition to all that, we need to make sure that our chips are also not creating more energy problems. Now, semiconductor industry is a part of the problem, but also part of the solution. Why I'm saying this? With this growth, and this is an important information, we collect data on how many number of new fabs are being made in the world. As of last quarter, 103 new fabs have been announced, of which 80 fabs have already been either groundbreaking or beyond near operation. That's the next 4 years.
Oh, wow.
And by 2027. If all these 103 fabs are commissioned by 2027, it will still not lead to the 1 trillion production. That means between 27 to 2030, there will be at least 50 to 60 more fabs to get to 1 trillion IC revenue by 2030. Now, here's the important data. If I look at the number of fabs in Southeast Asia, there are a total of 4 12-inch fabs and 4 8-inch fabs. I would love to see that Southeast Asia promotes more fabs coming into this region. So only 8 fabs coming to Southeast Asia in the next 4 years, and I would love to see and this number grows to much bigger.
And definitely, we don't want to make sure that this initiative, this effort goes to waste. How do we keep track of all the efforts, program, model that has been in place within the setting? For example, like we want to say that 3 days we held a conference in Kuala Lumpur for 3 days, and then we have the policies, trade, and then the economic partnership with other countries. We don't want to make the whole system, this whole partnership, this whole policy that is equipped to boost the ecosystem goes to waste. Definitely, it's not the goal. So how do we ensure the stability, the sustainability of all the effort has been made along the way?
I think this is another very important point you are making. Since the pandemic, when people learned that semiconductor industry is foundational to virtually every industry in the world and to humanity. This people have now realized that why I'm saying this, because semiconductor industry was the responsible for developing the vaccine in few months because of supercomputing. Without the vaccine, pandemic would have lasted for multiple years. So thanks to semiconductors. And they also realize that semiconductor industry is strategic to your every country. It is important for national security and economic security and economic prosperity. So the fact that Prime Minister of Malaysia is coming to the event tomorrow, that's a testament to the commitment of the government to the industry, that we mean business, we will support you, we will make sure that you are successful in this country or in this region. That's what many governments are playing active role here. So I think Malaysia is doing exactly that and the right role they're playing. I know last year the Deputy Prime Minister came to the SEMICON Southeast Asia. This time Prime Minister himself is coming. That's a good message and good commitment from the government to the industry. I think we need to do more of that because other countries are doing the same thing. So when I go to Taiwan, the President of Taiwan is there. I mean, there is a President of Japan was at SEMICON Japan in 2023. Last year he couldn't make it. But most of the governments are coming to the various SEMICON events and giving the message to the industry. We mean business. We support this industry. This industry is strategic to our country and to the world. So I think that kind of a partnership between the government and the industry is really the key to the success. And I would love to say that this continues and grows further.
And that is the hope that we will bring moving forward. And you have shared with us the journey, the experience of how far the electronics manufacturing and supply chain industry have come, and we have still so much to do for the future. Maybe you can share with us what is your hopes. We know that this event, the SEMICON Southeast Asia Conference, will feature discussion, bring forwards towards the discussions with panel discussion with experts to see what are the key components that is very crucial for the electronics industry growth, definitely. So what's your hope and key takeaways from this event?
Well, I didn't mention about the challenges that we have this in the industry. I think I talked about the opportunities, but the real challenges are the shortage of talent. Because if the industry is going to double in size in next 7-8 years, the unfortunate thing is that the STEM education in the Western world, the STEM education enrollment has gone down by a factor of 2 in the last 2 or 3 decades. In the Asian countries, the STEM population has gone down because the number of children to couple has reduced in the last 2 decades. So if you really look at the overall STEM population, it has gone down. Although STEM education is still very important in the Asian continent. I think we need to really solve the talent issue. We need to inspire the young couples to send their children to STEM education and make sure that they continue the STEM education all the way to the college level. Plus, new developments like AI, which will also help in productivity, which will also help with the talent shortage problem. So we need to do a big focus on this. Now, SEMI has a very comprehensive program with multiple initiatives from elementary schools to the middle schools to the high school to college level and the reskilling, upskilling. So SEMI is bringing that kind of know-how or playbook into Southeast Asia to help further improve the talent situation. The other big challenge I mentioned about climate, that's another critical problem, because if we don't solve the climate problem, we'll keep getting some kind of breakdowns or disruptions. And you just heard, just in this last 24 hours, we had multiple tornadoes in North America, and a lot of disruption happened. The number of calamities because of the climate issues are increasing dramatically around the globe, and we need to really address the climate problem also. And I think the Southeast Asia region also need to step up their focus on the climate challenges. So we need to address the talent and climate challenge. Now, something which SEMI has started, we have formed a platform called SEMI International Policy Summit, where I have brought the policymakers, academia, and industry and civil society together as a new platform where we collectively addressing the solutions for the most difficult challenges or daunting challenges like talent and climate and so on.
All right, that is the discussion between me and the CEO and President of SEMI, speaking on the direction of semiconductor, electronics and manufacturing and even supply chain industry. How can we navigate toward the complexity and opportunities in the global, Southeast Asia and even the Malaysian electronic markets? Full discussion will be featured in AWANI.com and across all social media platforms. And this is the end of our session. Signing off, I'm Nina Rosman. See you next time.